Over the past few years, everything has changed. Where and how we work and live, the way we collaborate and measure success, and the emerging technologies we use to get it all done. Welcome to The Bridge. Join our host, Scott Kinka, in a series of discussions with top leaders in technology and learn about how they bridge their lives and their businesses into our new hybrid work and AI-driven reality. Our hope is that the insights and experiences will help you on your journey in business and in life from who we were to who we are today. And maybe it'll help you get better prepared for whatever comes next. The Bridge is a service of Bridgepoint Technologies, the nation's leading IT advisory firm. Bridgepoint helps business leaders evaluate, procure, implement, and manage technology and customer experience solutions with a focus on realizing sustainable results for your business growth. And now, here's your host, Scott Kinka.
There are 5 generations in the workforce today. Every one of those 5 generations talks and communicates and collaborates differently. You have to meet them all where they sit. And that is generally in their home behind a screen. Your personal brand used to be based on how you interacted with people in the real world. Now this is your personal brand and you need to invest in it. On this episode of the Bridgecast, I sit down with Patrick Kelley, or as he's known online, the Tattooed Nerd. He's current distinguished architect at Zoom, a decade at Microsoft. This guy is expert on the tools that you likely use every day to communicate with peers, customers, and prospects. And we didn't talk tech, well, at least not like we usually do. Instead, we talk about your personal brand and the simple tips and tricks that you can implement very easily and very inexpensively in your home to deliver an experience that sets you apart. We tackle lighting, audio, virtual backgrounds, etiquette. We also debate whether your employer should have a stake in that game too. This is an episode for everyone, not just business and IT leaders, so please don't miss it. And of course, if you enjoy the conversation, make sure you click subscribe on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, or wherever you're getting this content. Let's dress for success, ourselves and our space, on this episode of the Bridgecast. Well, hi, and welcome to another episode of the Bridgecast. I'm your host, Scott Kinka, and with me today, I'm super excited about this episode, is Patrick Kelley, otherwise PK, but otherwise known as the Tattooed Nerd. We're going to get into that. Welcome to the show, Patrick.
Thank you. Happy Thursday, Scott. I appreciate you humbly inviting me.
Yeah, well, I like that. So we'll get into why the Tattooed Nerd, but your LinkedIn calls you Chief Tech Evangelist, top 50 UCAS influencer, author, several other things, I think, importantly, father, friend, and donut lover. So before we get into anything, why donut lover? You got to tell me about the donut.
There was a time and a place where I was a semi-professional powerlifter and I was trying to make weight and I couldn't make weight. I was trying to get up to the heavyweight class.
Okay.
And the only way I could do it was to eat a bunch of junk food, and donuts became my favorite.
Okay. So you're obviously fit. You're not lifting to win awards right now, but you're still eating donuts and managing to stay trim. What's going on?
Maybe I should update my LinkedIn profile. I rarely eat donuts anymore.
All right. So you are, Patrick, in day job. We'll get into that just quickly. You're at Zoom now. You've been there for 5 years. Your title is Distinguished Architect. Certainly they love you getting online talking about stuff. What does Distinguished Architect mean at Zoom?
It's pretty much the coolest title at Zoom, honestly. I think I accepted the job just for the title alone. But
okay,
I believe I was the second distinguished architect hired. I started in March of 2020, right when the world was falling apart.
Yeah,
it was absolute madness, and so my job is really to help product, help social solutions engineering, help salespeople. I kind of sit above all that and kind of maybe shuffle the checkerboard a little bit and herd cats, basically.
You work with a friend of mine, Mike Hamilton, too, in your group right over there. Is he in your group? He's an architect also, I believe.
He is. He's on the global solutions architect team as a technical solutions architect. And he is the man, the myth, the legend about all things chat. He's an amazing coworker.
I love it. Well, I'll make sure I tag him to this. Interestingly, though, here you are on the Zoom side. You had 2 stints
I did.
at Microsoft. Tell us about that.
I started at Microsoft, I think, in 2006 as a senior support escalation engineer. I was a nerd that sat in a cubicle and got calls for people having problems, right? And I got tired of that after about 3 years of just being in the queue. And I went to deployment engineer. And then I was really wanting to get into sales and pre-sales engineering. But I kept applying for all these Microsoft jobs. And they're like, well, you don't have any sales experience. I'm like, I know, but that's why I'm trying to apply for the job so I can get them. And so I applied for 38 separate sales and pre-sales engineering jobs at Microsoft. And it was never even given
Wow.
one single interview. And so
Okay.
I got a little frustrated, and I had a buddy that worked at a company called SPS at the time. They're now actually Converge One, but
Yep.
he's like, hey, they're looking for solutions architects that are pre-sales and engineering and write SOWs and all that good stuff. And so I literally left Microsoft and I spent a year and a half, 2 years with SPS. And lo and behold, I got a ton of sales engineering experience. And I applied for this voice TSP or technical solutions professional job at Microsoft. And guess what? I got the interview and I got the job because I had
Yeah.
sales experience.
I love it. So you are uniquely qualified to be talking about, 4 years at Zoom, 12 years at Microsoft specialty in voice, at least in those last couple of years,
Yeah.
3 years at Citrix. I mean, it's quite a resume at this point. You are uniquely qualified to talk about all things collaboration, and especially the medium kind of that we're going through right now over video. I imagine that's some of the genesis of the Tattooed Nerd. So for those of you who don't know what that is, the Tattooed Nerd is, effectively Patrick's alter ego online. He does videos very much like this and talks about lots of topics. But what really interests me is the talks that he gives around kind of optimizing the work from home and the video experience and doing things the right way. And we've decided that that's going to be the purpose of our topic. But before we get to that, explain to us the Tattooed Nerd, how it got started, and what you're out there doing on a day-to-day basis.
It was purely being selfish, Scott. 1000% being 100% selfish
I love it.
feeding my fragile ego, really all those things that I typically, no, that's not really true. The selfish part is actually true. When I first started at Zoom, being at Microsoft for so long, I was doing a lot of these demos on how Zoom works inside of Microsoft Teams. And I was doing them all the time, and they resonated very, very well. But the problem was I was doing like 10, 15 of these meetings a week, and I was getting sick of doing the damn demo, to be honest with you. So I'm like, you know what? There's got to be a better way to scale this. And I thought, what better way to just do a video of the demo and then post it on YouTube? And then anytime somebody said, hey, Patrick, can you do that demo? I'm like, no, you can watch the video and send it to your customers and they can watch the video. And if there's questions beyond that, I can do another meeting. But no, I'm tired of doing the demo. And so that was my very first YouTube video where I created a Teams and Zoom meeting, and it's kind of blew up ever since.
Fantastic. So that's part of what you do on a day-by-day basis. The rest of the time you're engaging with customers. You got quite a setup over there. What's your superpower?
My superpower is that I was so technical for so long.
Yeah.
And one of the things that, as I transitioned from being a tech geek, right, in the networking team and reading Wireshark traces and Netmon traces and process traces, like those, TCP windows and window size and jumbo frames, all those networking things. But people don't realize that everyone sees an application, right? Everyone sees, hey, here's this GUI, pretty interface, but everything in the world relies on that network. And if you do truly understand the network, you can truly understand everything above it. And so as I transitioned from engineer to sales, I was able to transition the ability to talk to geeks and IT nerds, right, in the data center level, to talking to directors and C-level executives, and then transitioning that talk track from technical to business solutions. And that, I think that's my superpower, to be able to really translate that conversation from geek to executive.
All right, so we're going to have some fun translating conversations from geek to executive on the remainder of this episode, and we're going to have some real fun doing it. You and I talked at our pre-show. We decided we were going to do something different. I mean, you're an influencer on all things UCaaS, collaboration. You've got to focus on Zoom and Teams. Certainly with the Tattooed Nerd brand, you're not exclusively focusing on Zoom, which I love, right? Even though they're your employer, like, the world is in a handful of platforms, but those are certainly paramount among them. We want to do something a little bit different, and we want to talk about best practices for online meetings. And if we get there, maybe we can expand it into the broad-based, more broad-based communication online topic. But, you started in 2020, everything changed in 2020. We get it. People are at home. Hybrid work is the way that we're going to work. Different CEOs feel differently about it, but either way, you spend most of your time, even if you're in the office, on meetings like this one.
Yep.
So I'm going to start with just a fun question. What drives you crazy, man? I mean, what's the number one mistake you're seeing people make when they're doing this?
I'm going to show you the number one mistake that people make.
Here we go.
Watch this. This is the number one mistake everyone makes. You look like Billy talking to his grandmother, right? Sitting at the kitchen table. This is the number one mistake, and it's the most easily corrected mistake. You are sitting at a third level, right? There's a rule called rule of 2/3.
Yeah.
Your job now. You're getting a little conscious.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. I'm making me think about it.
Look at the Mona Lisa. The Mona Lisa is at the 2/3 level. Your eyes should be at the 2/3 level.
Okay.
You can easily correct it right there. That's as easy as this right
posture there. And really where your kind of camera sits. All right. Well, then let's hot take that then. And maybe it's the same answer, or maybe find me another one then. So maybe it's the number two, but if that's the number one problem, what's the number one piece of advice that you have other than getting your eyeballs at the 2/3 level?
The number one, I know we're on a video call right now.
Yeah.
But the number one most important thing in your video call is your audio.
Yeah.
It is the number one most important thing. I could look amazing, but if I sound like I'm in a tunnel or in a well, everyone loses interest and loses focus and loses attention. Your audio is the number one thing you can easily correct. Now, granted, you and I both have some XLR dynamic microphones.
Yeah. What are you using there? Is that a Shure SM? Oh, you got the... I got the
Logitech Blue Sona right now, but I have a Sennheiser shotgun mic. I have XLR microphones because obviously I do this for a living. I'm not expecting you, right, as an account executive to be on meetings with an XLR microphone with a Rode boom. I'm not expecting that. But what I am expecting, I'll show you this again. This USB microphone costs $39 on Amazon and sounds amazing. I expect you to put at least a little bit of effort into making your audio sound good. $39 is not a lot of money to sound to me.
Yeah. So number one, the embedded microphone on your solution is not qualified to actually, even for meetings, you don't need to be doing broadcast. I get that. And we'll get into a little bit more on that. What's the name of that $39 mic, by the way?
This is the Maona. I bought it on Amazon. I literally bought it on Amazon for that. And I actually used that mic for probably 3 years and love it. I recorded hundreds of videos using that mic alone. And I upgraded to an XLR, obviously, as I got more into social and content creation. But that thing will do you amazing amount of wonders.
Yeah, so they don't need an audio interface. They don't need to go buy Scarlett. They don't need to worry, but a good USB mic, they can get close to the mouth where the quality is good, makes a perfect amount of sense.
That's all I need.
We're going to talk about some of the other technical aspects in a minute, video, lighting, things of that nature. Let's just take a step up, though, for a minute, because this is maybe a little bit of a controversial topic, so I'm curious to get your take. I have operated, and I've said to CIOs who don't always love me saying it, to be perfectly honest, but if they're going to support hybrid work as a primary means of working and they are not housing employees, that it is part of their responsibility to ensure that their employees have the items that they need to look good, sound good online, if you will, whether that's camera, microphone, lighting, what have you. What's your feel on that? Is it, I'm sure it's a shared responsibility of caring enough, but does the employer bear some responsibility in this equipment story?
I 100% 100% think they do, because you're a reflection of their brand in every single meeting you go to. So why wouldn't you, as a company, invest in the quality of not only the presentation of your AEs and your SEs and your entire organization, but it doesn't take a ton of money to make that infinitely better than just giving you a laptop and using the laptop camera and mic. I could literally outfit somebody with probably less than $150 to make you probably 100% better. I just told you, I would buy everyone a $49 mic. I would buy everyone a $25 diffused LED light from Amazon, and I could spend $100 on a decent webcam. That's for a minuscule amount of effort and time and money. You can make everyone look infinitely better. Now, I'm not expecting people to carry this stuff on the road. We're talking about events in your home office. On the road, it's a whole other ballgame on the road.
Yeah, got it. So two things here. One, I was expecting you were going to be on the road because I know Zoomtopia was this week, which was awesome. I think it just ended, right?
That's correct.
That's amazing. Maybe we unpack that. We'll see how much time we get at the end of this. But in terms of that package, maybe we'll talk about it after the show and we'll work together, collaborate together, and put some links at the bottom if somebody's looking for that sub $200 package, whether they're going to invest in it themselves or invest in it for their employees. And I do want to get into lighting in a minute, but before we get there, let me ask you the inverse question. All right. Whether the employer is helping or not. Now let's make a note to the employee who's listening right now. All right. You're not getting up. You're not pulling on pants. You're not gassing the car and heading to the office. If you're not making those investments, is it incumbent on the employee to also make some investments in how they look in your mind?
100%. I mean, I literally, here's my morning routine. I get up, have coffee, look at my day, look at my calendar, see what meetings I have. And then I literally, after I take my shower, I know mentally what meetings I have, who they're with, and what level I need to dress for that day. If I'm in quarterly business review meetings with internal people, I'm wearing a t-shirt all day. I'm not trying to impress you. If I have a podcast, I'm at least putting on a collared shirt, right? If I have an EBC with a high-level Fortune 500 company, I'm probably putting on a dress shirt and maybe a suit coat. Yeah. Put a little bit of effort into the situation. I'm not saying dress like that every day. And I follow people on LinkedIn that dress in a suit every single day. More power to them. Yeah. I think you put just a tiny bit of effort to your audience.
Got it. Let's talk about the effort on the employee side or the employer side from a look and feel perspective. So we talked a little bit about sound. You mentioned, that's not that expensive, but the sound on the, that's on the laptop or on your PC is generally not effective from an input perspective. Let's talk camera for a minute. You can deal with the 2/3 eye by just like how you route the back of your laptop, but talk a little bit about the cameras that come stock in a laptop.
They're horrible. I mean, they're absolutely atrocious, right? And again, if you're at the airport and you got to get on a meeting, I totally understand that, right? But there's there's 3 levels of cameras out there that I think you can go with, right? It's certainly everyone has a laptop camera, every single one. Never use it. It's complete garbage. 2, your next level is a decent webcam. We just kind of talked about it, right? Yeah. I can literally I have a 4K. I can say it. Logitech. I have an MK705. It's a 4K camera and it is $199 on Amazon. I'm not selling it for Logitech. I'm just saying I own it because it's amazing for $199. If you want to go up to the professional level, this is where you start getting to DSLR cameras, right? Yeah. Mirrored or mirrorless. These cameras today, you can literally hook up directly to your computer with a USB cable, and you can get 4K experience right to your Zoom meeting. Now, I know Zoom and Teams and WebEx don't broadcast in 4K, but you can tell the difference between 720 and 4K. I guarantee you can in a meeting. And that makes a big difference. And if you're doing any sort of content creation, if I was any sort of senior executive talking to investors and VCs, I'm buying a $1,300 DSLR camera to look amazing, to show you the quality and the experience and the effort I'm putting in to be a better broadcaster, or a better content creator, or just a better salesperson.
100%. You know, and a note I'll make on that, I think for a lot of people, they don't realize that the best camera that most of them possess is the one that's in their pocket, right?
I
Which
know
is the
what
other,
you're gonna say.
yeah, right. Which is the other thing to think about. I mean, there are multiple apps. I use Camo again, not selling for it, but Camo is an app that you can run on your machine. It exposes itself as a camera. You run the Camo app on the Android or the Apple iPhone. You plug it in USB. It sees it. And I mean, those are fantastic lenses on the backside of those cameras. You probably already have the equipment and could just invest in. You got to get a good stand so that it's stable, but you can capture a fantastic image just by sticking your phone in airline mode, if you will, right? Flight mode,
Yep.
and then keep silencing the phone, using it as a camera. That's another super interesting way. Um, and then lastly, let's talk about this because I can't tell you how often this happens. I get somebody who's at 2/3, maybe they've got a decent camera, maybe there's even a mic in front of them, and all I see is their background because the ceiling light is back here. It's
Yeah.
lighting not lighting the front. Obviously, one simple light can do it, but walk us through that. Like, where do you position it? You know, how much do you really need to spend to look good? Or if you don't have an external light, how to position yourself leveraging the lighting that you do have. Just give us a couple tips there.
Lighting is the number 2 way to look better and sound better and feel better when you're doing a meeting. Number 1 is audio. We just talked about that.
Yeah.
But lighting can literally make up for a bad camera or make a bad camera better. It's literally
Yeah.
that simple. And so you can, here's the most simple lighting. Open up your laptop or your monitor and go to Google. Guess what? The whole page is all white. It is a built-in light from your monitor. That's like the minimum amount of effort you could do to make your lighting better.
Great tip.
That's
Fantastic.
the most simple tip you can possibly do. If you have multiple monitors, turn them all white. Now, is that practical? Probably not. You're probably presenting something or you're looking at an application. I'm just saying it's an option. So the minimum amount you can do is buy what we call a key light. It is your main light source. And again, you can get these for $25, $50, a diffused LED. That's the minimum what you should do is a diffused LED. You don't want those harsh LEDs, right? You want a diffused LED so it kind of warms and surrounds your overall face.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, a lot of people just put them right in front of you and you can be fine. But then if you want to go to the next level, right, you want to go with a key light, which is kind of off to the side, a 45-degree angle. It kind of creates these cinematic shadows on your face. Now we're getting Hollywood. This is a professional level. You don't have to do this, as a regular user. But if you want to, you can put a diffuse light on your 45-degree angle, and then they can do what they call a key light at your other 45-degree angle to fill these shadows. So, for example, I have a key light right here at 45, and I have a fill light at 45. I'll actually turn it off right now. You can see that as soon as I turned it off, I have a lot more shadows on my face, right? And I'll turn it back on. And now, see that you can see those shadows fill. This is getting to another level, right? I totally understand. So key light, fill light, and then if you want to go next Hollywood level is what they call a rim light, which is a light opposite of what your key light is. And you can kind of see how my hair is outlined right here and my shoulder is outlined. It adds some depth and dimension to the overall video. So there's 3 lights in my office right now that I have on. But again, this is upper professional level content creation level stuff. But if you're a senior level executive or you're a high level salesperson and you in meetings all the time with partners and vendors and external people you're trying to sell to, why wouldn't you invest in looking your best? I don't get it.
Completely. So that brings me to, you're lit very well. Obviously, your background is darkened and you've got kind of professional lighting on that background. That's a lot for most people. But I want to ask you a semi-controversial question. How do you feel about the virtual background phenomenon?
Oh man, this is a tricky topic because I worked for Microsoft and I've worked for Zoom, and they push that as much as anybody. It's super cool, right? That you can create these branded backgrounds and put logos. I totally understand. If you're at the airport and you don't want anybody to know, or you're in an office that has a boring background, you want to put a virtual background out there, I totally understand the use case for using virtual backgrounds. But I'll put the but in there. If you're in your home office, why wouldn't you put some effort into making your real background amazing? You're there all the time. You're doing meetings there all the time. You can make your personal background in your office a part of your personal brand. And as soon as you get on a call, people might see, hey, that's a motorcycle back there. I love motorcycles. Let's talk about motorcycles. Or you might have a football from a team that you like. I don't care. Make it whoever you are. Make it a part of who you are as a person. Right, exactly. Yeah. Your background as well. Put a book up there that you want to talk about. What happens is when you join meetings, I see this all the time. You join meetings, there might be a CFO or a CIO that, might be like, oh my God, they might ride Harley Davidsons. And as soon as they see your Harley Davidson motorcycle, they're like, I have something in common with this person, right? Mm-hmm. They're doing something that resonates with the person. I literally have a conversation topic built in before I even say a word. That's why I don't like virtual backgrounds for a home office.
Got it. And then, okay, makes perfect sense. And I get that. I feel the same way. Sometimes you're in the hotel lobby. Sometimes you're in the hotel and you there's no way you can situate it where you can't see the bed in the hotel. I completely get those situations. But I'm with you. If you're in your home office, work on the home office. Take a couple of minutes. Show some pride in the workspace. I can also tell you, I love the idea you mentioned earlier about like kind of getting dressed every day. I'm very guilty of this. Like I'll go to the gym and I'll leave the shirt hanging here in my office. I'll put the collar on, but like underneath, I'm like, I really should have gotten a shower before this meeting. There is something mental about saying you're getting up and you're going to work, even if going to work is snagging the coffee in the kitchen and walking into your workspace.
Agreed. Yep.
Before we get to some fun questions, I have to ask you one last one. And this is not a technical one. It's about etiquette. What mistakes do you see people make from an etiquette perspective when they're on online meetings?
Oh, here's another one as well. One, I hate when you're late. Like I absolutely.
Oh yeah, I get that.
I absolutely hate when you're late. I absolutely. You know what? That's a simple one,
Right.
But also and this is sales 101. It's one of my biggest etiquettes is when you throw out a question in a virtual meeting, you have to wait for a time for an answer. Instead of just, because what's going to happen is you're going to have 4 or 5 people talk at the same time because you didn't maybe direct the answer, the question to who you wanted to answer. I don't like that either. I also don't like when you don't, you're going to be on a hot topic. I hate when you don't prepare for a meeting. And what I mean is this, and everyone's guilty. We're all guilty. Everyone thinks they can just get, hey, I got a brand new deck from marketing. Got a brand new deck. I'm going to look at it for a couple of minutes before the meeting, right? I'm going to scan the deck. And then I'm going to maybe look at the bullet points and you're like, oh, I know this stuff. And then you think you can present that deck in a professional, perfect way. You will 100% fail. That's just what's going to happen. You will not prepared because you didn't put the time and effort into presenting an amazing deck. And what that means is this. It's not just reading the bullet points or just talking to the bullet points. It's literally creating an entire script for your presentation. And I don't mean an hour long. I'm talking 5, 10 minute, 15-minute pitch that you have. You better script that entire thing. And you'd better have some sort of, I'm not saying teleprompter, but I don't care if you use Notepad and you put the Notepad application right underneath your camera and you read that script. But now you have to read the script like you're not reading the script. And guess what? That takes an amazing amount of practice. But this is your job.
Yeah.
You should be doing this all the time.
Yeah.
I can read a script and no one knows because, again, I've put the practice in. I wrote the script. I practiced the script. I've literally recorded myself giving the pitch and then obviously looked at myself and said, hey, there's some tweaks I need to make. If I were a salesman, I'm not, right? I'm not well, I'm kind of, we're all in sales, let's be honest with you, but I'm I don't have a commission built on my number. So, but every time on camera, every single video I do, 100% scripted.
That's tremendous advice. And I definitely agree with you on preparation. I think the other one for me, and I'm guilty of this, particularly in internal meetings all the time, is the people who have the two monitors and are using the camera on the one monitor. So it looks like the entire meeting, you're not paying attention to the meeting. You know what I mean? I mean, obviously in this kind of environment, we're set to try to, but I mean, that's just an absolute tip. You know, I've told people to take a Post-it note and draw an arrow on it and stick it next to the camera on their laptop so that they're just forced to continue to look at the top of the monitor.
Yeah, it's a good one.
You know, the other one, you know, if you're take your Zoom, you can adjust where the other people are in your layout. Put it at, if you have to use the camera on the laptop, put the people that you're talking to on the top of the content so that you're forced to kind of look at them as you're going through whatever the content is. Simple things like that that keep you at least looking engaged with the camera is one. And I'm the worst at it on internal meetings. My people are probably watching this right now and going, this guy, what are you saying about
What a
that?
hypocrite.
No, I love that. Patrick, this has been super amazing. I mean, I'm sure we could go for another 20 minutes on this. I want to get, maybe we will do a follow-up at another time, but I want to get a couple of fun questions out, if you don't mind.
Okay. Let me take a drink of kombucha.
So the first one's an easy one. It doesn't need to be in any category in particular. It's just something for us to look back on later. 12 to 18 months. I need a shameless prediction. It doesn't need to be technology. You know, we try to stay away from religion and politics, but you know, if you feel strongly, fire it in. Sports, whatever, but give me something we can look back on and see how right you were.
Wow. This might be a little hairy. In 18 months, AI will be a commodity and we won't be talking about it anymore.
I love that one because usually it's the other prediction I get. In 18 months, AI will run the world and the robots will have taken over. I will have a robots taking over the universe question in a minute. Let me give you a business one. I got to pick which one. All right. What's the most recent leadership lesson that you've learned that you really wish you knew when you got started?
Oh, wow. That could literally, and I'm not doing this to suck up. I promise you, I really am not. But my current boss, Leo Bolton, by the way, my current boss, he probably leads by example more than any leader I've ever had in my entire career. And when I say lead by example, I'm not saying delegate services and rah type of person. It's literally, hey, I have a question on this deck, and he'll get on the horn with you on a video call and a Zoom meeting and literally will work through the deck personally with you. That is true leadership to me, that you can literally put the effort in because you're caring for your users and obviously your employees. I haven't had that a lot in my career. Even at Microsoft, I was on the road as a consultant. I was obviously a data center as an engineer. My managers didn't have the wherewithal or the knowledge to actually help me out. And so that truly leading by example can't be more true. It's 100% something I haven't had until I was 53 years old. And I don't know how I survived all this time without it.
Okay. I love it. So, you know, it's kind of like a service mindset, servant leadership in a lot of ways, right? It sounds like I'm hearing you say, which is super interesting. All right, let's get back to the robots taking over the universe. Whatever our dystopian future is, descends upon us. And I'm not sure if you're an Apple guy or a Android guy, but you've got a phone in your pocket. Only one app continues to work on that phone for the dystopian future, and you get to pick which one. What's it going to be?
I think this is the world we live in.
Okay.
Here's the world we live in today. The world we live in, and we should literally start calling it something else. There's no such thing as a phone anymore. Can they do phone stuff? Yes. Does anybody use it for phone stuff? Nope. No, not one person uses it for phone stuff. When I started in this world, I was in the UCaaS world. Here's what UCaaS meant to me. Unified Collaboration as a Service wasn't even a term, but let's just go back to 1995. Here's what UCaaS was. It was a hard phone, a PSTN phone, and email. That's what UCaaS was.
Yeah.
Today, those are the least used modalities in any collaboration communication system.
Yeah.
The least used. The most used, video, audio, chat.
Yeah.
Those are the most used, and chat being the number one thing. So it's a long answer to the only app that you could possibly need on your phone today is SMS.
Okay.
That's all you need. That's how we communicate today from a consumer level and an enterprise level. Enterprise, we sit in Teams chat, right? We sit in Teams chat all day long, or Zoom team chat, or WebEx chat, or pick whatever, Slack, whatever application you want to use. Most of the day, you're chatting with individuals or with channels. That's your professional day. Most of your consumer day is probably texting your friends or getting a honey-do list from your wife or telling your kids to take out the trash. That's just how we communicate today. So that's my one app.
I love it. I love it. You know, there were a couple questions I would have loved to have gotten to, and maybe we do it on another session at some point, but it does bring up the question. One of the things that I find is super interesting is, you know, people talk about, hey, there's so many modalities now. And the advice I give to IT leaders is they probably need to make some decisions and set some expectations around kind of frequency, return time on communications across modalities, because generationally, you know, I still get emails from people where they go, I sent you an email 5 minutes ago. And I'm like, it's a mail. Like, mail means it comes, it posts, I send something back, you see it. Like, I'm not expecting to respond to your email in 5 minutes. Chat, maybe a little bit more immediate. You hit me with a phone call, totally different story. But the challenge is each generation looks at it a little bit differently. So you get these sort of cycles inside the company. That's probably a whole other episode, Patrick. So we'll save that conversation. Maybe we'll continue.
Oh, I have a good answer for it too when we talk again.
Give me the teaser. Give me the teaser.
There's 5 generations in the workforce today. Every one of those 5 generations talks and communicates and collaborates differently. You have to meet them where they sit.
Okay. I love it. We'll talk about how to do that maybe the next time we get together. Patrick, this was an unbelievable episode. It was a great 35 minutes of my time. I hope it was for you. I know it will be for our listeners. Thanks so much for joining me here on the Bridgecast.
That was the fastest 35 minutes of my week. So thank you, Scott.
Well, I love it. I'm glad that I could achieve something today. It's good stuff. Thanks, Patrick. I appreciate everything. Listen, if you made it this far, there must have been some good content, or you're just a fan or a relative of mine. In either case, we appreciate you spending your most valuable asset with us, your time. We don't take that lightly. We'd also like to say one more time that we're appreciative of Bridgepoint Technologies and their belief and sponsorship of this show. We hope that if you or someone you know is thinking about your company's digital transformation, or simply the next IT project that you may not have the resources, budget, or time to get to, I'm sure that Bridgepoint, one of the country's fastest growing technology advisory and procurement firms, can help. Check out bridgepointtechnologies.com. Don't forget the E on Bridgepoint, or simply reach out to me at Skinka, SKINKA, at bpt3.net. Also take a minute, please, if you would, to give us a 5-star review on your favorite platform. It helps give us the visibility to reach other people like you. Thanks for listening to this episode of The Bridge. I'm Scott Kinka, and until next time, there's a lot of noise out there in business and in life. Do what you can to be the signal. Thanks.